Hello everyone, welcome to the course I've designed here on the Trivium method. My name is Tom Halifax and this course is designed to be an introduction to the Trivium method. If you watched the introduction video, you'll know the general direction we're taking things. We're going to move through our grammar phase in this part 1 component of building out the Trivium method. So, how our reality is built, this is the slide that I showed in the introduction. We're going to move through this in steps as we move along here. We're going to go the potential knowledge that can be gathered and processed and understood and acted upon is the foundation of this method where all of the available knowledge is. So, the available knowledge has to be gathered up. We're taking in all of the parts, sourcing data, ordering concepts, and categorizing topics. This is the input phase of the Trivium where you just look at everything before doing any judging or discernment aspects of the method. So we're going to be covering the bases in this. So in the grammar phase of the Trivium, we primarily look at the questions of who, what, when, and where, so that we know the name of the guy on first. And then after this, let's see. So, what's in a name? So the power of words has been well known for all of human history. From poems to songs and even magic spells, words are by far humanity's greatest tool. The power of meaning is the essence of conceptual thought. So we have to have something that has an identity, which we'll get to later, and those are the substances and the terms that they're called, hence the picture that I've chosen for this. So our understanding of the world comes from the inherent identity of substance. Our navigation of substance comes from naming each thing as itself and nothing else. This naming is how we define a term. We'll cover more of this in the logic portion. And that'll be part 2. So, essentially what grammar gives you is, it gives you the aspects of words that form the essence of thought. So they give us the power to navigate meaning. With this understanding, we can enrich our minds by learning the character of words. So, we have words, we have phrases, and we have clauses that eventually build out into a sentence. So, single words by themselves have no meaning beyond what they denote. Car on its own is just a word. The car's tire is a phrase. Then the car's tire was flat forms a clause. Now, when it comes to all of the terms that are knowable, understandable by people that use them, and people that hear sound and understand language, and all of those fundamental inputs that we covered in the introduction with the landscape of the mind, all of those sensory inputs fall into certain categories. We have objects, which are the things that we interact with. The actions are the ways in which we interact with them, and their relations, what relates to what and how, and then all of the things that fill in around that, which is what people typically think of when they think of, say, nouns, for example, person, place, or thing, what have you. But then we have the class, so all of the category components fit into those 3 categories of what composes our reality. Then our class is the types of ways in which these interact with the categories, and then our qualifiers, which are modifications to all of those things that the categories have already fleshed out. So, let's see if I've read this. There are an infinite number of ways in which substance can be and act in language. This divides into 3 categories: objects, actions, and relations. This is more of our navigation tool set. From section 1 in the introduction, I fleshed out the navigation tool set. So what we have in language is we have content and we have structure. So language forms 2 sets: the subject matter and its arrangement. Content, words are flexible, so things that can be added onto as far as the dictionary of terms goes. So you'll see this a lot on the internet, where people just come up with wacky terms for things, and they do a lot of, I think it's called verbing, where they take something that was a verb and make it a noun or what have you. But then we have our structure words, which are a pretty finite set. They're pretty much just the kind of like the 100 words that you would need to learn a language or something like that. So I've just listed them here. We have content is our nouns, our adjectives, our verbs, the adverbs, and our interjections. But we also have, that was an interjection, we have our structure components, which are pronouns, determiners, auxiliary verbs, conjunctions, and prepositions, which we'll also cover in this segment here. So most people think of nouns just as person, place, or thing, but one of the things that I've found is you have animate, inanimate, concrete, and abstract, and this I think is a much more useful way to think about nouns instead of person, place, or thing. So in the animate example, we have a cow. In the inanimate example, we have a table. For the concrete example, we have something like a bowl of cereal. And then in the abstract, we have the concept of breakfast. You can tell I do a lot of this work in the morning. So then we move on to our verbs. Now, our verbs allow us to navigate space, time, and action. So verbs are the way in which our minds navigate time and space. They define the character of motion and the location of an action in chronological time. Verbs are extensions of our bodies. Our bodies, like a cognition, is a very physical thing. So our body's interaction with the world around us forms our cognition. This is something that Daniel Kahneman covers in some of the first pages of his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. So they give substance to our experience. We think as we are in our environment. Again, that comes from Kahneman. Reconstructing and moving through an internal version of the world. This is another thing that can be very useful if you've studied the method of loci, or the method of Loki. I'm not sure how the pronunciation goes on that, but it's essentially using your physical navigation to navigate your memory. So then we have our adjectives, and I call them the icky, sticky adjectives. The most charactery of words is the adjective. They convey the way a thing is. Very useful in visualization, very dangerous in manipulation. So that's one of those things that you'll notice a lot, adjectives being used for casting a certain light on a certain thing in a certain way. Great for novels, not so good for disposition, or what's that? Discussions? Yeah. For debate and those sorts of things. It gets very pathos-y, which we'll cover later on. So prepositions are another way of navigating. This is more the relations component. So be that as it may, is literally a sentence that does work, but it's completely formed of prepositions. So prepositions are the main words we use to move through and define the position of nouns. Prepositions show relations of location and direction, time, and then we also have cause, manner, and means. So prepositions are very useful, like the Swiss Army knife of language. Now, finally we come to the sentence. So single words by themselves have no meaning beyond what they denote. Covered that. A word is not a complete thought. Slow, green, above, bird only point out phenomena like actions, attributes, relations, and things, respectively. They are not complete thoughts. A sentence, a series of words containing a subject and a predicate, is the first representation of a complete thought which has meaning. I've also included on the side here some famous sentences that go through all of the four different types of sentence that you can have. So acting fanatics will recognize these very, very well. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, an exclamatory sentence. Wherefore art thou Romeo? An interrogative sentence. Deny thy father and refuse thy name. An imperative sentence. I'll no longer be a Capulet. Declarative sentence. And I think that is all I have for this. So I'd like to thank you for finishing section 1 on grammar. And in the next video, I will be working our way through the logic components of the trivia method. So stick around, and I hope you enjoy.